Hello, Matt. This is John. Welcome to the Nut. It's kind of an interesting place. Let's look at your trees. Yeah, I got to be straightforward with you. I am not a more maple expert by any means, so I cannot give you advice on the species and the back budding potential and that. So I'm not going to try, but I will. If you don't mind, talk a little bit about the process you're using to get to these trees. First, let me say, for a person that's just been in bonsai a year, you're moving in the right direction. You're thinking about how bonsai are created or how trees are grown and developed is right on the money. Your virtuals are excellent. You see taper. You have a good eye. Okay. Let's look at your material. I think when knowing the species is important, and knowing that it's maple, even though I haven't grown this species, I strongly suspect that these three big branches where they're cut are going to be an issue. It's going to just reduce so much straw, it's probably going to end up dying back all the way down to the roots. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That can be an interesting point or characteristic of the tree. So I think you ought to kind of plan for that, or at least expect that in your design here, and maybe you do. I don't know. The transition areas are hard. You know, this is a pretty wide transition. It's going to take, you're going to have to grow this branch out and then cut it back and let another bud come out this way and grow out and come back and let another one come out to develop this branch so that it reaches the same size and you get a natural taper from the cut region. That's a tricky thing to do. A lot easier, you know, you can draw it a lot easier than you can do it. Is 5 years realistic here? You know, I think you're going to have a tree you're going to be reasonably pleased with in 5 years, but I think it'll be far from what it can be. I think 10 years out, you could potentially have a pretty nice skeleton with some decent ramification. I think it'll take another 10 years, so 20 years out, to really get that character, that really high quality bonsai have, that age and refinement. So, but hey, you know, you're a year into it, you won't believe how fast 20 years passes. So let's look at your next tree. This looks very, very obvious, and what your design is excellent. Typically, I think in maples, you wouldn't see this kind of tree grown from a cut back. This would be a tree that was developed from cuttings or seedlings or something like this. It's the same thing. The transitions are going to be hard here, especially with one leader going up from each of these. You know, maybe you have two here, but I guess you have 2 leaders on a couple of them. But one thing you might want to consider that might help a little bit is making a smaller tree, making a tree that's maybe this size. You could use multiple leaders, 2 or 3 from each of the cut areas, and help disguise that taper and help that taper improve the look of that taper. So I think that tree has potential. It's got a great base, and there'll be some people that tell you 3 trunks will always lead to reverse taper, and you already see it here. It's already apparent, but I don't have any problems with that. I think that tree's going to look great. I think this is your most challenging material. I think the transition is going to be hard to accomplish here. This chop is going to end up having to be really short, or you're going to have this really ugly straight section that you're never going to be happy with. You might want to think about something, you know, you could use one of these other branches as a top instead. You'd have to look at the tree at a different angle. I think this is a numbers game. I only have 5 minutes here, so I'm hurrying for the last 25 seconds. But if you're really interested in having a couple nice maple trees as bonsai, I would start with 10 and begin developing all 10, and then weed them out as they get better and better. Share with friends, whatever. But in the end, you'll have a couple of very nice trees. So, Matt, good luck to you. I think you're going to go places here. I think in 5 years you'll love your trees.